Hello guys and gals, and welcome to my first game review. Today we are going to be reviewing Fightttris VR, created by TheCoolWolf. Fightttris VR was created in Unreal Engine, and it's a great little spin on the old classic. Rather than controlling the blocks with a D-pad or an analog controller, you grab a hold of the blocks and rotate your hands to spin these things in virtual reality. Now you might think that being able to hold on to these blocks makes it a little bit easy to play Tetris. That's where the game gets you. You start with 2 blocks at a time, and obviously you can juggle these because you've got 2 hands, but as you score more points and the game keeps going, you start to get multiple blocks at once, and you find yourself juggling the pieces until you get the piece that you want in the rotation that you need so that you can put it in place, and it gets really hectic really quick. As soon as you make one mistake, that's it. Everything just goes to hell. You start juggling things all over the place. You're grabbing the wrong blocks, rotating them the wrong way, slamming them wherever just so that you can get some fresh blocks falling down. It gets a little bit mad. That said, you are helped by some of the old classic Tetris tropes. The blocks look different, so different shaped blocks have a different color. They're all the same shape, so they're all just made up of generic cubes, but a line piece is always going to be red, a T is always going to be orange, the 4 square is always going to be a purple, so if you see a specific color, you already know what block it is, and you'll get used to what rotations those are capable of. So the visuals, they're actually quite simplistic, but they're very effective. The actual play area has got little dots in it, like a little grid, so that you can see the divisions and how far across your blocks are going to be going while you're trying to place them down. And I think that you're supposed to be out in space or something, so you can see stars off in the distance. Every now and then you'll get a sun or a planet orbiting around you. But the thing is that those things aren't invasive to the actual gameplay, so you don't find yourself getting distracted by these things going on in the background. The whole time, the actual game grid is very good at keeping a hold of your attention, so even though you've got these things blowing up all over the place, you're 100% focused on the actual game. So one thing that I do wish that I can change about the visuals is the user interface. The user interface has got some important information on it, such as your score and your current combo, but unfortunately it's just a little bit too low down, so in your headset it's in that kind of peripheral area that's a little bit blurry, and it's a little bit hard to see, and as it moves around with your head, sometimes that itself does get a little bit distracting, and it's the only thing about the visuals that I find distract from the gameplay itself. So with this being a VR game, one of the most important aspects that we need to discuss are the control scheme. Now luckily, grabbing the blocks is set to the triggers on the Vive controller rather than the grips on the sides, so picking up the blocks is really easy, but moving them, as in rotating them, isn't quite as simple. If you have a Vive, or if you've seen a Vive, then you'll know that the controllers are actually quite chunky. In most games I don't mind this, but in this game particularly, rotating the blocks is a little bit awkward because of how chunky your controllers are. So if you need to go, say, 270 degrees, or you rotate the wrong way and then realize you need to go the other way, it can get a little bit uncomfortable, shall we say, to do the rotations. And then at other times it feels like the rotation is really sensitive. I think that they have it set so that it's a particular rotation degree rather than the amount that you turn the controller itself, because you'll find that sometimes you'll go to place a block, and before you've let go, you're moving your hand in anticipation of the next move that you're going to make, and you'll accidentally rotate the block as it places. That alone has ruined a few plays for me. I've been playing through the game, been going really well, and then the block has rotated itself as I've placed it, and everything just goes to heck, and I end up having to spend ages trying to fix the mistake that the controller's made rather than what I've made. One of the things that I really do like about the controller scheme is that the grippers are bound to changing where your play area is, so you can look at a specific place, squeeze the grips, and that will put the play area directly in front of where you're currently looking. This means that if you have a smaller play space for virtual reality, that it's going to be really easy to set this up. None of this clambering around trying to set things up for your current room space. You just push a button and it will move the menus to wherever it is that you're currently looking, which is just a neat little addition, I find. So the last thing to talk about with the controls is the vibration feedback. So whenever you rotate a block or place a block, your controllers will vibrate. It is very subtle, but it's there, so you can tell when you've done something. And this can help counter some of those accidental rotations that I mentioned a little while ago. As the controller's going to vibrate every time the block actually rotates into a new position. If you over-rotate, you're going to get a little bit of feedback in your hand. The game also has a pretty awesome soundtrack. Unfortunately, there are only a few tracks that are playing, and if you're in for a longer game session, then you do start to get a little bit sick of hearing the same songs over and over again. I think there are only 5 currently in place, and they are all kind of similar sounding, so it gets a little bit generic. To start with, though, the soundtrack does sound really cool, but I tend to just turn the sound off and have my own music playing while I'm playing the game. So finally, this game does have a multiplayer. You can verse another player online in a kind of duel mode. It's just a score attack, so you're playing against somebody else to try and beat their score or to last longer than they last. There don't seem to be any special attacks or anything that you can do to disrupt the other person's gameplay. It just seems to be you're both playing in the same room and it's just whoever gets the highest score wins. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to try that out because the player base right now is still quite low and I haven't been able to find an online game to play. So overall, it is a cool little indie game and I do really enjoy playing it. I do feel like they've kept it a little bit safe. It's a bit too much like regular Tetris for me. I feel like there are some power-ups that they could maybe add just to give an extra level of strategy, you know, maybe a gun so that you can blow up blocks if you've made a mistake, something that lets you just wipe out an entire line perhaps without actually making the line itself, just to clear your board up a little bit, something to slow down time, something to speed time up. You know, just things like that that give it that extra level of gameplay that just separates it from other versions of Tetris. But would I recommend it? Yes I would. It's very cheap, it's very fun, and it's a cool little game just to play during your downtime. So there we have it, guys. That is Fightttris VR, and no, that's not a typo. There are that many T's in the Fightttris section of the name. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much to all my patrons. As usual, you can find links to my Discord and my Patreon if you want to support the channel in the description below, as well as a link to the Steam store page for this game in particular. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.